Welcome everyone to the Legend Gaming Guild Member Spotlight, where I, Seven, Elder of LG and chapter leader of our World of Darkness Guild Acheron, meet with different members of our community to ask them questions and find out a little bit more about them so that the larger gaming community can see what kind of members we have here at Legend Gaming. Today I'm meeting with Exiled, guild leader of our Wildstar online guild Terminus. So, how are you doing today, Exile?
I'm doing great. I just woke up probably like half an hour ago, so well, maybe 45 minutes ago or something like that. And then yeah, it was pretty awesome. I stayed up until like 4 in the morning playing. What was I playing? I think it was. Oh, I was finishing up the storyline on Call of Duty Ghost. It was interesting. So
Is it? It's 3 p.m. here. What time is it there?
it is 3 p.m.
You
3:17.
lazy ass.
Yeah, I'm quite lazy. I'll give you that. I'm even
uh,
lazier because like I work from home, so like when I have to go to work, it's literally reboot my computer, put the disk that I need in for my work, and I work straight from my home computer, so I don't have to go anywhere ever.
oh, I would like that. I looked for some telecommuting jobs that I could do. There aren't really like any of them that would pay me enough,
Yeah, this one doesn't
unfortunately.
really pay a lot and everything, but it's something in the meantime until I can finish my degree and get into the field I want.
Yeah, they were. The hell is that going on behind you?
What are you
Oh, it's
talking
the
about?
TV. It's the TV. Okay.
Oh, that's my freaking me out, dude. Um, No, yeah, that's my mom's computer. Like it's got that whole screensaver and everything, and it's doing its fancy little thing right
Yeah, I could
there.
just see one little line of it at the time in the corner, and so I was like, "Is that on the
Yeah,
camera or
it's
something? What
that
the hell
it's
is it
that little
doing?"
thing where like it bounces around and makes those
Yeah,
little shapes and everything like that. It was yeah.
yeah. I couldn't tell it was a monitor. Is that floating in the air? All right. Anyway, um, I guess I'll get with the questions then.
All
Um,
right.
how long have you been in Legend Gaming?
Oh man, a long fucking time. I think I joined in. I could think it was September of 2009. So I'm coming up on my fifth anniversary. Is it? Was it 9, 10, 11, 12,
I think so.
13, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4? 4? That doesn't sound right. No, no, it's
Uh,
gonna be no, something. I don't know. Fourth or fifth anniversary. I'm pretty confident it's the fifth anniversary. Could be wrong. I don't know. I might have my dates wrong and everything, but I've been here for a long time, longer than I can obviously remember. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's been a great experience and everything. I'm an elder now. I've been an elder for like 2 years or something like that. So yeah, been here for a while. I'm an old guy.
not quite old, but old in the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still kind of young.
All right. What chapters are you currently active in Legend Gaming? Which ones have you been in previously?
Um, Currently right now I am the chapter leader for Wildstar. I lead the guild through recruitment and all that good stuff. You know how it is because you're a chapter leader. Um, I will be active in our upcoming chapter, which hasn't been announced, so I won't say anything there. Uh, but I was active. I've been active in pretty much every chapter we've ever had. I was my first chapter ever was Jinjidai. That was the one that I came in on. I joined. Yeah, it was way back in the day. I was in that chapter for about 2 years or so. Doing beta testing and everything with the guild and everything like that. And then after I kind of lost interest in Star Wars: The Old Republic because the game it was fun, but it wasn't enough to keep me in, and they didn't have enough in-game content and blah blah blah. And my time schedule kind of sucked, so I couldn't raid with the guild. So by the time that it came around and everything, I was kind of floating, and until Planetside 2 had been announced, and so I thought, I think this might be a game that Legend Gaming can get into and everything. And I tried to form the guild Sovereign Guard under the Unity because of the type of game it was, and two because it's not really Legend Gaming's type of game. We that's a type of game that we play in between games. Like right now we're waiting for Wildstar to come out. That's PlanetSide 2, something that we would go play waiting for the game to come out. So I kind of let that get that one go, and then I was in our quote unquote unofficial Guild Wars 2 chapter, Whispers of Chaos. I was in there throughout its entire inception and everything, and until it eventually got removed. And then I was in Acheron for like 6 months. I was in Vokundein for like another 6 months, and it was basically just to support the community and everything like that. I'd never really had a passion for the games themselves, but I love this community, and so I'll do whatever I can to help support and move the community forward. But but now I'm solely right now I'm solely in Wildstar trying to support it, the game, the community, and trying to get as much attention as I can to the game as I can.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think a lot of us have kind of bounced around a few chapters here and there.
Hmm.
But that's kind of the whole point of Legend Gaming, I guess. When we get tired of one game, we move on to another.
Oh
We
yeah,
have the different chapters so we can kind of stay all together in the same community and not, well, we still lose people, but hopefully retain some people over the years.
yeah.
Um, let's see, what else have I got here? What is your favorite thing about Legend Gaming?
Oh, honestly, it's the people. I mean, there are people in Legend Gaming that you'll never meet anywhere else. You've got people who literally will go out of their way, to do what they can to try and help you out. I mean, all kinds of things. This community is so interactive with each other. It's really hard to find anybody else that's like that. When we went to PAX Prime for the first time, as a community, there was 13 of us that showed up over there, and at the time, that's a lot of people for our community and everything. I mean, Gen Jedi was our only active chapter. There is our only active chapter, and we had probably around 50 something members, I think, at the time. And so Legend Gaming wasn't really huge at that time, but that's always been our I guess our thing is that we don't really want to recruit a shitload of people because that's not who we are. We don't want to be like people out there. I don't want to name names and everything, but I know that some of y'all know who I'm speaking of and everything, who just recruit people just because they need, bodies in their community. Legend Gaming recruits quality people. That's what we look for, is quality over quantity. And we've always proven it, in any game that we play, we've always proven that quality definitely beats quantity any day. We've always been top chapter in whatever game that we play. We've always been top, guild in whatever server that we're in. So and always been at least probably what top 50 guild in whatever game that we play in the world. So it definitely shows that the quality type of people that we recruit here and that we allow into Legend Gaming are definitely of a different breed. So it's definitely my biggest reason for staying. It definitely says something when you're in a chapter and the chapter either folds or you kind of lose interest in the game, but at the same time you don't leave the community because the people here, the friendships that you've created and things like that, and it makes you want to stay here and be active in the community.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much just sums up the basis of Legend Gaming. I mean, that is kind of the
Mm.
point, and it is one of the best things about us. We have a lot of great people here, people that bend over backwards to do stuff for you, and people that want to actually, hang out and play games together. Let's see. What can you tell us about your gaming history? Like, where did you get your start in gaming, and what MMOs have you
Mm.
played?
My very first game I ever played was on the Sega Genesis. No, yes, no, yeah. Wow. I think it was the Sega Genesis. I'm like 80% confident it was a Sega Genesis and it was Sonic the Hedgehog, the very first one. And the only reason I remember that is because we were living in a small ass little apartment. It was like a 2 bedroom apartment, and my biological father came up to me and he was like, "Hey, before we go do this and everything, I wanna watch this movie." And I was like, "What movie?" And he was like, "Oh, I just want to watch this movie." And I was like, "All right." So we went inside and we sat on the couch and everything, and like he turned it on and he had it in this little drawer and everything, and like so you couldn't see it where I was sitting. I thought it was just, I was, and in my mind I was like, why the hell does he have a fucking VCR in the drawer? And so he turns it on and it comes up on the screen. It's like Sonic the Hedgehog, and I was like, what is this? And he starts playing it and everything. I was like, this is amazing. He was like, here. And I was like, yes. And so, that's the only memory I really have of that. And I'm pretty sure it was my first game. But then, I moved on from there. I've played a lot of Super Nintendo. I've played, tons of Game Boy. It took me 9 years to beat Zelda on the Game Boy. Just because it was on and off. And like the first time I played it, I was probably like 9 or 10 or something like that. And that's not really a game meant for somebody that's really that young, because the game is really in depth. Like you can't just be like, the games that they made back in the day were just completely different from the games they make today. So they were a lot harder. And so at the time and everything, it took me forever to beat the game. It wasn't until I was like 15 or 16 that I finally beat the fucking game. And so I moved on from there. I mean, I've gone back, played a few things in the past, and then I've always gone forward and played the new, current generation, future things, whatever. So I've owned every single console that's ever come out. I've pretty much done all that. But as far as MMOs, my first MMO, sadly, was World of Warcraft. So I played that, and I got hooked on that game for, oh god, 6 years, something like that. five
You're not
years,
the
I
only
think.
one.
Yeah, I was hooked on that for like 5 years straight, and like it was bad. Like I was severely hooked onto that thing, to the point where like I would work a week or 2 weeks at a job, get my first check, and then quit, and then that entire check would go towards paying my $15 a month. And then as soon as it was done, I'd get another job, and then I'd be like, all right, I gotta do this, and everything, and then first check, I'd quit and then go on, or I'd get fired. I'd do stuff to on purpose to get fired and everything. I think when I was like 18, between 18 and 19, I had gone through 15 jobs, and
Wow.
that was just to get all the money and everything that I need, because it was obviously I was buying food and everything too with it. So I'd end up paying for like maybe a month or two of WoW, and then having to get another job to get another check so I could pay for the next month or two of WoW. And I did that for like 4 years. So it was pretty bad and everything. And then finally I kind of got a grasp on it when I was like around 20, sadly. Um, I kind of got a grasp, well, 20, 21 or 22, I got a grasp on it. And kind of just let it go and everything. So kind of started regulating myself to where I needed to put my priorities in order and everything like that. So yeah, WoW was my first MMO. Sad.
Um, well, gives a little credence to the MMO addiction concept.
Hmm.
Um, so would you say that has been your favorite MMO you've ever played?
Um, uh, no. Um, yes and no. It WoW was one of my favorites for a long time, because of the raid con. I've always been a raider, and the raid content that WoW comes up with is very good. And not a lot of people can really argue with that. The raid content that WoW comes out with is actually extremely good, and they put a lot of thought into the content that they do for all of their raids. So, I liked it for a very long time. Molten Core was, my playground. I loved logging on, getting ready for a Molten Core run and everything. Getting 40 people onto the event or TeamSpeak server that we were on, and going to Molten Core. So it was just fun. Um, so WoW for a long time was my favorite MMO, and then it kind of died off after, I want to say, after the Burning Crusade. What was the one after that? Wrath of Lich King? Was that it? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Wrath of Lich King. That kind of died off after Wrath of Lich King, and so I kind of lost interest. It was kind of like, this isn't really fun anymore, and then I eventually just quit. And it wasn't the first time I'd quit though. I had quit because I couldn't afford it, and it was like for 6 months, and then I came back and played it again. But then it was the first time in Wrath of Lich King where I quit, and I was like, I really don't want to play it because this expansion sucks balls. And so, I quit the game for like a good year and a half right up until the point when Cataclysm came out, and I was like, all right, let's do this again. Cataclysm was fun for me, so I started playing Cataclysm some more and everything. And then I kind of lost interest again though, because the content in there was kind of like it was too easy and it was just not enough of it and everything. And I was like, all right, I'm done with this, and so I quit again. And it's pretty much like every time a new expansion comes out, I'll play it, and if I kind of can't really, if it can't keep me in there, I leave again. And WoW hasn't been able to come out with content recently that's been able to keep me in the game. So same thing with Mr. Pandaria, which is currently what it's at. I played it for like a good 6 months with some real life friends of mine, and the content just couldn't keep me in there. I did some raids and everything, and I was like, this just isn't doesn't really feel like what I want it to be. This is why I'm really looking forward to Wildstar, because of the way it is, the way they do the raid content and everything is a lot different. It's going to be very um it's going to be randomized. You'll go in killing a boss a certain way one week, you go back in the next week, you better make sure you pay attention because the strategy is going to change. What the boss does is going to change. It's going to change up your entire strategy. So that's what I really like, is that we're going to be kept on our toes in the rating, and it doesn't become, stale like the way WoW was. WoW was like, okay, we got the way the fight is supposed to be. We got it down. All right. So now we're going to do this exactly the same way every single week. And take for instance Karazhan, which had like 13 bosses in that bitch. Um, you go in there, and there are weeks when we're like, all right, people, we're gonna do a Kara farm so that people can get gear, and like nobody would show up because nobody wanted to go back to Karazhan, and I was like, well, people need gear and everything, so you may know the fights, you may be bored of it, but come do it, help people out and everything. We wouldn't get people to get on to do it, and so that's why I'm like, all right, this is why I think Wildstar would change it up, because all right, guys, we got to go back into whatever the rate is, and it's like, sweet, let's do this. I wonder what they're gonna do this week, and it's like, all right, what strategy are we gonna do this time? So that's why I think it'll help out a lot with that. And I completely forgot what the question was, but I kind of went off on a rant there. So
Yeah, he kind of went on a WoW rant. I think
yeah,
that
yeah,
that really happened for a lot of people. I played it a long time myself, but I always had a love-hate relationship with that game. I'd play 6 months, quit for 6 months,
oh yeah.
play for 6 months, quit for 6 months. Even in vanilla WoW, I played it for a long time. Actually, vanilla WoW, I probably managed to sit down and actually play it for at least a year or so before I
Oh man,
backed off. But
I played Vanilla
uh,
WoW for like 2 or 3 years straight. Well, I think it was like 2 years straight before they finally came out with Burning Crusade. It was
yeah.
awesome.
Um, What currently in development games are you looking forward to? Obviously, you're looking forward to Wildstar. Is there anything else you're really looking forward to?
Um, there was one. I can't remember the name of it. I think I might kind of want to look into what Star Citizen has to offer. I'm not too sure on that one just yet. I've never been a huge fan of space games because they've never done them right. Um, Eve was not, in my eyes. A lot of people would argue this. Eve was not done correctly in my eyes. In my eyes, the way I see a space RPG or a space MMO is you fly your ship, not just point and click and say, oh, okay, fly to this ship or fly to this place and everything. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll automatically send you over there. And then, it's like you fly your ship, you do what you need to do on your ship and everything. You're actually in the cockpit flying that ship where it needs to go. That's my idea of a space game. And doing a space MMO that way would be, amazing. The PvP would be amazing, everything would be amazing. In Eve, I'm just like, point and click everywhere. And if I want to destroy something, I gotta lock onto it. And if I want to, shoot something, I gotta press 17 fucking buttons just to get it done. And if I want to use that, I gotta learn 32 different other fucking abilities. And it's like, what is this? It's got the largest, So I'm like, all right, whatever. So it's Star Citizen. I think may be a little bit different, especially because you can get out of your ship, you can walk around and things like that. So I think it'll be an interesting game. Another one that I'm looking forward to is I definitely want to try out World of Darkness. I've always loved being like I've always been torn between being a vampire and being a werewolf. I want to be a vampire because I want to be immortal, but I want to be a werewolf because they are fucking amazing. And so, I've always been back and forth between that, and so I think World of Darkness will definitely give me that choice of which one I want to be. So will Elder Scrolls Online, but not the way World of Darkness does it, because their entire game is built around the world of of mythology, of vampires, of werewolves and everything. So I think it'll be very interesting to see the way they do it, if they ever get it done. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, those are the ones. I'm sure there's another one that I'm missing and waiting for, but those just come with time and everything. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the a lot of the sci-fi games have really been very niche games, you know. I mean, that's one thing that's always been interesting about the sci-fi genre. I think in a lot of gaming areas, not just MMOs but other games, is they always do seem to be kind of a niche system. Like even looking at like
Hmm.
turn-based strategy games, look like the turn-based strategy games. The sci-fi ones always seem to be more complex to the point of almost absurdity. You know, they're so complex that only the people that really, really get into that level of complexity can even really stand to play the games. And then they have, kind of this fanatical cult following for that. And for some reason, the sci-fi genres always seem to kind of lend itself to that. And it does in EVE Online as well. They have their niche players that really enjoy that mode of gameplay, and as the only people that play it. But I have some questions for you from different members from the community. Kazra wants to know, what is your most memorable moment in Legend Gaming?
Mm, 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 mm. It's really hard to pinpoint any certain like one specific memory, just because a lot of the stuff that I do for the benefit of the guild or of the community, and so I would say I've caused a lot of memorable moments for other people, but for me it's just another day. So I can't say I've ever had any one specific memorable time in Legend Gaming. I mean, there's one that sticks out just because I was like, it threw me off. Was I can't remember the premise of the conversation and everything, but basically something had happened, and Sarah decided she was going to record me, and then she came into the channel telling me that I was going to get kicked out of Legend Gaming, and I flipped the fuck out. Like I flipped out. She still has the recording, I think, too.
I don't
Yeah,
even know what
like
recording this is.
yeah, I think it was Sarah. It could have been Honora way back in the day. I can't remember, but I remember she came in. She came in and she told me I was gonna get kicked out, and I flipped. I was like, I didn't do nothing. Why am I gonna get kicked out? I can't believe this. Oh no, I gotta talk to Santa. I gotta talk to Santa. I can't believe this is happening. And she has it recorded, and I was like, this is bullshit. And so and like that was the only time that I can remember where I'm like, holy shit. Like it's a memorable moment, and for me it was a shitty moment, but I know it was a very huge memorable moment for a lot of people who were involved in there because they saw me flip out. Other times or whenever I'm doing, people know in the community that I am horrible at PvP. And so they will specifically ask me to go do PvP so that they can listen to me rage. And when I rage in PvP, for them it is fucking hilarious. I don't understand why. I'm raging because I'm pissed. I'm not raging for other people's amusement. And so I'm sitting over here like, fuck, this is bullshit. Fucking kill, what are you doing? And so, I'm like, and so people just, they like to watch me rage like that and everything. And so, that's why I can't really think of a specific moment where I had it more memorable, but I know a lot of people have different memorable moments about me.
Well, going back to Wildstar, since you're head of the Wildstar chapter,
Hmm.
um, what are you most looking forward to in the Wildstar MMO?
Um, just actually, and this is very surprising for me to say, but just the leveling aspect of it. I've never been really happy about leveling. Like I hate leveling. I'm right now. I'm in Final Fantasy. I'm playing Final Fantasy 11 right or 13, 14 right now. Wow, Jesus. I'm playing Final Fantasy 14 right now, and like on there, the way they did their character system is you wake one character, and that character can be every single class, every single job. And so I started off being a warrior, or a gladiator, a marauder, and turned into a warrior. I hated the warrior. Didn't like playing it, and so I started leveling a bard. Well, now I'm so fucking tired of leveling. I don't even want to go back into the game because I'm supposed to. My friends are all like, "Dude, we need you as a bard and everything to do DPS and give us our songs and blah blah blah." And I'm like, okay, all right, that's great and everything. I got my bard to level 50. I'm playing him and everything. Like, all right, well, you need to level your dragoon so that you can get this one ability so that your bard is even better. I'm like, well, I really don't want to fucking do that because I've already leveled two, or well, yeah, two characters to level 50. I've got another one that's already level 30. I've got a bunch of other minor classes that are level 15 and everything. I've pretty much leveled every single character to at least level 15, and I'm like, I really don't want to do that because it's just boring for me and everything. And so, I'm like, I just don't. And it's very surprising that I'm saying because from the videos that I've seen, Wildstar's leveling looks extremely fun. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun. The way they do their action combat system, I think will keep me on my toes. Playing leveling it as a hunter in WoW, it's just you sit there in one place and you shoot your bow and let your pet do the damage. And WoW, it's like if you sit in one place, you're probably gonna die because you need to be moving around, dodging these people's attacks and everything, so that you're not getting hit all the time. And so I think that's going to be a lot more fun for me to do. And then right after the leveling of it, I would say raiding. Raiding is going to be definitely a lot of fun. War plots is going to be fun. The entire damn game is going to be fun. I'm just looking forward to the entire game. So that's why I'm like, let's do this. And I'm waiting for the damn game. It's like, give me my fucking beta already.
Um, Ajdaha wants to know what aspect of Wildstar are you most optimistic about giving the MMO the best chances to succeed?
Um, I think that the way they design the game, every aspect of that game is going to is going to let it succeed. In my opinion, I think Wildstar is not a game that we've seen before. It may look like it, and we've heard a lot of people say it just looks like another WoW clone. It just looks like another WoW clone. And it's like, they've said that about every MMO that's ever come out. They said that about Final Fantasy 14. That's definitely not a WoW clone. There's a lot of different things in Final Fantasy 14 that you've never seen in WoW. Um, they've said that about uh, God, that other game. Whatever. They've said it about pretty much any MMO that's
Everything.
come out. Yeah, every MMO. And it's always the fanboys, coming out. And even sometimes not even the fanboys, it's just people in general who just don't like MMOs or life in general or something come out and they start saying, it just looks like a WoW clone, a WoW clone, a WoW clone. It's like, dude, shut up. You obviously don't even know what a WoW clone looks like because WildStar WildStar's art style is completely different. WildStar's gameplay mechanics are completely different. WildStar's rating system is going to be almost completely different. It's going to be one core thing that's different on there, and that's the whole randomizing the boss sequences. Um, the only thing that's kind of being brought over from World of Warcraft is their arena system and the battlegrounds, and that wasn't even started by WoW. Those were started by I believe it is Warhammer Online, and the arena system I believe was started by shit, I can't remember the name of that game. There was another game, and everybody says it's always WoW. WoW started this. WoW started. WoW wasn't even the first MMO, guys. It wasn't. WoW took stuff from all the WoW did exactly what WildStar is doing right now. WoW took everything that was good from every other MMO, whether it was good or bad. They took all the good from each of those MMOs and brought it into theirs. And that's why WoW was one of the best MMOs of all time right now. And back in the day, it's not. Well, it probably is the best MMO still right now, just because of the amount of subscribers it has. But it was just the way that it was, the way they did it and everything. And now WildStar's doing the same thing. They're like, all right, we're gonna take everything that's good from these other games and we're gonna bring it over into our games. So you have your battleground system, you have your arenas, which were hugely popular in World of Warcraft. You have them in Wildstar now. So I'm looking forward, and it's the first time I can honestly say I'm looking forward to PvP because maybe I might not die so much this time. Maybe I might be able to, prevent myself from dying as much. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to playing some PvP. A lot of people are upset because they're doing the same thing as WoW did, and separating the PvP and the PvE gear. That's not set in stone. That may change. Um, it's definitely something that you should keep your eye on and everything. They've done that with every single game though. Every game has always separated their PvP and PvE gear. Star Wars: The Old Republic started out trying to do just one set of gear for everything that you can use for everything. People found out that it wasn't working because there were people that didn't raid. They don't like raiding, and the people that did raid, as soon as they were done raiding and everything, they would go into PvP and they would start beating the living shit out of the people in PvP because their gear was better than theirs, and it takes longer to get PvP gear in some cases than it does raiding gear. And so they were getting their ass handed to them, and then on the other hand, the raiders were getting pissed because there are some raiders that don't like the PvP. And so, like me, for instance, and I don't want to go in there and be like, all right, we're not going to take you because this guy has gear that he bought from the PvP vendor because he's been PvPing for the last 3 days straight and got all of his PvP gear, and it's better than all the gear that you have. And it's like, well, that's bullshit because, I'm specifically waiting to go on this raid to get more gear, and you're going to tell me you're going to skip me now because I don't have gear to go to the raid? Like, what the fuck is this? And so that's why they started implementing a damn stat that was specifically geared towards PvP. So, whether people like it or not, I don't see that ever leaving. I honestly do not see that ever leaving. They will always, 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 always keep PvP and PvP, PvE and PvP gear separate because of those two different factions of people who prefer PvP and prefer PvE. Bring them together, and so it's damn it. I went on a fucking tangent again, didn't I? Son of it. I don't even remember the
Yeah.
damn question.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
I admit the gear issue with the stats, as you well know, is a big issue for me. When they announced that, or I saw the announcement for that for Wildstar, I was like, ooh, because I hate
Yeah.
that. I'm one of those people that hates the separation of the gear between stats, but it is something that a lot of games have. I mean, it's pretty much expected for a lot of games now. It's not
Yeah.
exactly it's not exactly an
It's not a
oddity.
desirable thing, but it's just gonna happen. It's just how it is. And I honestly, I don't see a way of them being able to change that. I really don't,
Mhm.
because for them to change it, they would have to come up with a completely different system that's both beneficial to both the raiders and the PvPers, and be like, all right, all gear is equal now. It's like it's never gonna happen because they're always going to make it easier for one person to get gear over the other. It's always easier to get PvP gear than it is to get raiding gear because you can go into a raid, and I'm sure you've done this before. You can go into a raid, finally down that boss and everything, and two pieces of gear drops, and none of it's for you. And so you go into PvP, you do 5, 10 PvP matches, and you got yourself a guaranteed piece of loot because you got the points that you need to get that piece of loot. So that's why I honestly don't think it's ever going to be equal, and it's ever going to be able to be on the same footing as each other because of the way that they have it set up. So it's just people who don't like the system, get over it. It's not going to go anywhere. I don't foresee it ever going anywhere. And if a game tries to bridge that gap, they better come up with a completely different system to try and bridge it, rather than saying, all right, every gear piece is equal. Because then, obviously, like I said, you're going to have people fighting with each other over why this person got geared out before the other one did, and you're forcing people to have to PvP or have to raid in order to get the gear for PvP or PvE.
All right. Moving on to the next question. Nadraxes wants to ask, have you ever forgotten the time so badly while gaming that you pretty much didn't get any sleep whatsoever and had to rush to school, work, whatever?
Yes. Um, and it was back whenever I was, in my World of Warcraft heydays and everything, when Burning Crusade first came out. Obviously, it was the first huge expansion, and as soon as it came out, I got it at midnight, went home, installed that, and I started playing it all night long. And I think I had to work that next morning. It was like I had to go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And like I just kept playing, I just kept leveling and seeing all this new content and everything. And I was so fucking just absorbed into the game and everything. And by the time I actually looked at my clock, because at the time I didn't have I didn't have that thing where you could just alt tab and it goes to your desktop and everything. No, if I did that, it crashed my game. And so I was like, all right, I had a really shitty computer, so I never alt tabbed out of my computer or out of my game. My cell phone, I think, was on the charger, so I didn't, and I was too lazy to get up to go look at it and everything. So I didn't even look at the time, and time had flown by so damn fast. And by the time I looked at the clock, it was 10 a.m. And I was like, son of a bitch! I was already late to work. So I'm sitting over here trying to get ready for work and everything like that, and throwing all my clothes on, and I open the door and I'm like, I'm already late. Fuck it. I close the door and I keep playing WoW. And so I think I went to work like 4 hours later, something like that. And they're like, "Where you been?" I was like, "Look, man, I am so sorry. I came up with some retarded ass excuse. It wasn't even really good." And he was like, okay, just don't let it happen again." And I was like, it won't. I promise, it won't happen again." And everything, it happened again. But so yeah, I mean, it's happened to me, and pretty much every time a new expansion comes out, it's almost the same thing and everything. But this time now, I set my alarm clocks, like three different alarm clocks whenever I do those, so that I can make sure I have to get up, and they're always on opposite sides of the room. So so I'll have one that goes off like at 8 a.m. or something, because right now I go to work at from 8 to 12 in the mornings. So I'll have one that goes off at like 7:30 to wake me up, and I'll have to get up and go turn that one off. And then I'll have one that goes at 7:35, and I'll have to get up to the other side of the room and turn that one off. And then one at 7:40 to finally get me up for the last time, and that one's on the complete opposite side of the room. So now I have a system, so I'm not late to work.
All right, yeah, I've never been. I've just never really had that happen to me too much. I think the only time I ever had that actually really happen was actually playing Dynasty Warriors on console.
Oh yeah, those were good.
Just like 8 hours straight of hack and slash destruction. Then, oh,
Hmm.
what? It's 6 in the morning. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. But
Yeah, I love that. Like that is just that's too much fun. Like Dynasty Warriors is an awesome game.
yeah, I miss those actually. I haven't played one in years. That's actually how I got my wife into gaming was
Nice.
Mario Kart and Dynasty Warriors.
Look that up.
Uh,
Dynasty Warriors. It's like they're on Dynasty Warriors 8 now? Holy shit.
uh, yeah, I don't know. I hardly ever play console anymore, so they really almost need like a PC version for me to play it.
Yeah, well, they have Dynasty Warriors Online, which isn't all that great, though.
No, no, I've tried it.
Yeah,
I
it's
hated
not.
it.
Yeah, definitely not what I wanted. So
Yeah.
they just need to put Dynasty Warriors Online, or Dynasty Warriors, and give it multiplayer features. That's all I need.
Content of the Ninth Seal wasn't bad for a free to play MMO that was very Dynasty Warriors esque. It wasn't bad at all. I played it for a little while, but not too long. Not too many people get into that. So, anyway, Archer has, for our second last question, wants to know if you're in a conversation with someone who has never played an MMO before, what would you say is the best reason for them to give one a try?
Um, Here's the thing, and with the MMOs, it really depends on the person. You can't just tell anybody to go play an MMO because an MMO is not for everybody. It takes a certain type of person to really be into an MMO. So if I'm talking to a person and this person I know is the type of person that's gonna like an MMO, then and they've never played one, I would tell them, go play one because you like open world, because you like character progression, because you like the sense of achievement leveling up a character, because you like seeing some ridiculously awesome looking gear on your character. These are all great reasons to play it, and especially if you have a community, like a great community, go play it for the community. Play it for the people that the other people that are playing the game. If it's an awesome community, like Wildstar right now has an amazing community. I would definitely tell somebody, if you like playing a game that has an awesome community, go play Wildstar, because the people over there, they're extremely helpful, they're extremely nice and everything. They're going to be great people to work with and play with. If you like going around and saying, "Hey, I got pissed today, I'm gonna kill somebody," go do PvP. That's a great reason to go to play an MMO. If you think to yourself, I kind of want to work cooperatively with my friends and everything, all right, get together, form a raid, or go do a dungeon and everything. MMOs offer everything to everybody. You know, there's not one thing that an MMO cannot offer to anybody, unless you're thinking of like a first-person shooter and you want to snipe somebody. Obviously, you know, the one game that could do that, they shut it down. So, you know, it's an MMO can give you pretty much almost everything that you want out of a gaming universe, and definitely something that anybody, I think everybody should at least try at least once in their life, and hopefully not get addicted.
All right. For our last question, I always like to ask this at the tail end of these interviews. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself as a person rather than just as a gamer?
Me as a person, I'm kind of just I'm laid back.
Unless you're
Like when
PvPing.
yeah, unless I'm PvPing, I'm raging. But for the most part, I mean, if you find me, I'm playing something. I'm always playing something. Like I'm a huge gamer, so that's what I do. Is I just play games, you know. And even after Wildstar comes out, you know, there'll be times when I'll be still in sitting in an event, and people are like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "Call of Duty, Battlefield 4, you know, something." I'm always playing something. I'm always here because that's just what I do. It keeps me out of trouble, so I prefer to stay out of trouble. Um, I'm very laid back. I don't really fight with people all too often and everything unless I actually have an opinion of something. And when I have an opinion, people will listen because I will make them listen. So, uh, yeah, it's. I'm told that I'm a funny person like when I'm actually out and about with friends and everything like that because I do stupid shit and then you know some of the stuff that I say and everything like that. So I'm told that I'm a funny. I don't think I'm funny. I'm just you know telling it how it is and everything. People think it's funny. I'm extremely blunt, you know, and to the point where even my mom has called me an asshole. You know, she'll come and ask me, you know, what do you think of this or how do I look? And that's the worst thing you can possibly ask me because I will be so honest that I give you a reason to call me an asshole. And so she'll come over here and be like, "Does this make me look fat?" And I'm like, "A little bit." And she's like, "You're an asshole." And I was like, "You fucking asked." So so I'm extremely honest and everything. I don't see a reason to lie to people. But I'm laid back at the same time. I am lazy as hell. I don't like to do anything except if it's something that I want to do. So I think my mom would tell you that for sure. That I'm lazy as hell and everything. Yeah, and I kind of want to buy that shirt now that says "I'm not lazy. I just enjoy doing nothing." That like sums up my entire life. But yeah, I mean, as a person, you know, I'm a helpful person too. You know, if you ever need anything from me, I'm always gonna be there to help out my friends and everything. Um, but I'm the type of person also where you know, if you screw me over even one time, I will write you out of my life. Like you are nothing to me anymore. And it only takes one time. I am not a person that's like, oh, I'll forgive you this one time and everything, because if you have the capacity to do it once, you have the capacity to do it more than once. So that's the way I look at life and everything. If somebody's going to screw me over once, they will do it. They may not do it immediately, but they will do it eventually in the future. And I would not. I would rather not give them that chance to do that. So I kind of just write them out of my life and everything. And that's just the kind of person I am. Um, that's pretty much me. I mean, there's not much more to me that there is and everything. I mean, I'm an open book, so anything that anybody ever asks me, I will answer completely honest. The only thing is that the only thing I ever ask is that you word your questions carefully, because they have asked questions. I have been asked questions that could be perceived multiple different ways, and I will give them multiple different answers. And sometimes they are not the answers that they are looking for. So if you ever ask me a question, make sure that you word your questions carefully, because I will answer them completely honest, and it may not be the answer that you're looking for.
All right. Well, I wanted to thank you for meeting with me and answering some of my rather tedious questions about yourself and your gaming and the community, and of course, Terminus. And for everyone that tunes in and watches and listens to these, I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't done so already, remember to check out Legend Gaming and Wildstar Online's Terminus at www.legend-gaming.net.